Hi there, welcome to McGregor Outdoors. Today I'm going to do an instruction video on fishing for sturgeon, how to rig the bait, and a little bit of the areas and stuff I've learned on fishing sturgeon in Lake Roosevelt, usually up around Kettle Falls. So I'll show you how I tie my leaders up and how I rig the bait. Okay, this is a 7/0 octopus Gamakatsu hook. I've pinched the barb off. All sturgeon fishing, it's always barbless hooks, especially in Lake Roosevelt. I use 200-pound Dacron leader. I tie an egg loop knot on my leader, so run it through the eye, lay it on the shank of the hook, do about 5 wraps, and then take the other end of the leader, put it through the eye of the hook, and lay it against the shank of the hook, and do like 5 more wraps. And then manage the loop and just pull your tag in. Just pull it all the way through. Pull it nice and snug. And then we used to use the egg loop knot for steelhead and used to put eggs in there and pinch them down and help hold them on the hook. So I tie that, trim this off, and then we'll run it. I usually run around a 20-inch leader. So I'll do that. I just tie a loop in the end of it. Trim that off, and that is our leader. And now I'll show you how I rig the bait on there. For rigging bait, I have a threading needle. You can buy these. I think they call them like a worm rigging needle, nightcrawler needle. I've made this one out of just a piece of brazing rod, smash the end, put a little hook in the end of it. You can see that. And this rigging will work for herring, works for smelt, works for squid. And just poke it right in through the mouth, come out right alongside the tail, like that. Then take the eye of your leader and put in there and pull it all the way through and pull the eye of the hook right up in his mouth, so the only thing sticking out is just the hook itself, like that. And then I put 1/2 hitch around the tail, half hitch the tail. And you always cut your tails off because you want these fish to just lay flat on the bottom. You don't want them to move or spin or do anything. These sturgeon like them dead still. So that's how I rig the bait. And then we can put scent on it. You smelly jelly, ultra clam. They make an eel lamprey. It works really well. Or just the old Procure bloody tuna. Any of those should work good. And then on my gear, on my rod, I run 80-pound Power Pro braid, 6-bead chain swivel to a dual lock. I run these sliders. These are short bus, made by short bus flashers. Put a dual lock on them. I run a 16-ounce, sometimes a 20-ounce. It just kind of depends on the current, how you're anchored up. What kind of current you got going is how heavy a weight you want. And you basically just hook that straight to there, and that is your setup right there. That is it. I used to run these sliders here, but if we were casting off the boat or anything, sometimes these little things would break and you lose the lead. So I went to a little heavier duty one. Okay, and then talking about bait, let's so you can buy sturgeon candy. You can get it at most of the stores up around Kettle Falls, Colville, down in the Spokane. And it's just a pickled bait. They sell squid, herring, smelt, and they love it. A lot of time I'll mix up my own. I just go buy my own herring. I'll put them in pickling jars, mix up a pickling solution, and that, or I fish them natural. And the squid fish natural seems to work really well for us a lot of days. We usually run through 4 rods. We'll see which one's picking up the fish the most or getting the most hits, and usually we switch it all to that. Some days it's herring, some days it's smelt, or it's squid. Squid seems to be one of our top ones if you can buy squid in bulk. And then I run just nothing special, just an 8.5 foot ugly stick. It's got a Penn 310 reel, 80-pound Power Pro is the rods I run, and we anchor up pretty much in the old river channel. So from Marcus Island all the way south past Bradbury Beach, we stay in the channel, up in that Kettle River area. Up in there, it might only be in 100 feet of water, something like that. You get down towards Bradbury or down below the bridge, towards the Colville launch, you'll be at 140 feet, 145, 160. And we try to anchor. I try to stay right in that channel. And these fish feed a lot on freshwater clams, and the clams a lot of time I find are on the edge of that old river channel. I try to anchor up in there. Anchoring, you just got to make sure you got a lot of current in there, even though some days it doesn't look like it. So you got to be a little careful when you're anchoring. Make sure you run plenty of rope out. We put a ball on there, and then have another stretch of rope. So if things go bad, you can always let go. And that ball will kind of fit as a shock absorber. If you have your anchor rope coming up to the ball, and then out to a floating rope to where you're anchored up, that ball can, if it gets rough or whatever, it can actually act like a little shock absorber. And then if you get a good fish on, you get an 8-10 footer on, we usually just let go and let the ball float, and we drift until we get him in. And sometimes we're a mile away from our ball by the time we get him in. So good luck. I hope this helps you out. I hope I gave you enough info.